In the event that you need to change the touchscreen or the display, the first step in changing any parts is going to be to make sure the power in the unit is off. The power button is located in the left-hand upper compartment, and if the light on the switch is not lit, the power is off. The first step in disassembling the touchscreen is to remove all the cables on the back side of the door. The touchscreen ribbon cable has two locking tabs that hold it in place that need to be removed before the ribbon is pulled out. On the lower side of the touchscreen controller card, there's a Molex connector that can be pulled out by simply pulling down. The LVDS card to the right of the touchscreen controller card has cables on both sides, and the first step in removing those are to remove the tape that's securing the ribbon cables on the bottom. When removing the ribbon cables, you need to first remove the locking tabs that are holding in the cables. That's done by pushing the tabs directly down towards the cable. After the lock is removed, the cable can simply be pulled out of the slot. That process is repeated for both cables. The next step is to take off the ground wire that's coming across the door for the LVDS card. Once the ground is removed, the cable itself can be lifted out of the slot on top of the card. The cable then needs to be removed from the retaining clip on the back of the plate. After all the cables have been loosened and removed, the next step is to remove the 5 Phillips head screws that are holding the plate onto the back of the display. Be careful when you get to the last screw because the display will be loose. So with the display loose, be careful to hold the assembly and take out the last remaining 4 nuts. Once the last nut is removed, the plate on the back of the display can be pulled off. Make sure you secure the display itself so that it's not going to fall. While holding the display and the back plate, remove the wires that are located on the right side of the inverter. Remove the ribbon cables from the back plate and place the plate out of the way. With the plate removed, we can concentrate on the display itself and gently work the display out of the gasketing that's holding it in place. The display can be placed on a workbench or out of the way, and we'll remove the touchscreen. Once the display is removed, the touchscreen can be removed by loosening the 7 11/32 nuts that are holding it to the frame of the door. Once the nuts are removed, the bracket holding the touchscreen in can be pulled gently out of its position. Be careful because the screen itself is loose at this point. Now gently pull the touchscreen out, and you're ready to start the assembly process. If you're replacing the display, you need to remove the standoffs off the old display and place those on the new display before you put it in. When installing the new screen, make sure that the barcoding is on the outside so it'll be facing the customers as they drive up with the cars. The inside of the box will be the side that has no barcoding and no serial numbers. To install the screen, make sure the barcode is on the outside and place the screen on the ridge of the gasketing and firmly press in place. While holding the screen in place, you need to install the retaining bracket. When installing the retaining bracket, the thinner gasket goes towards the exterior of the box, while the thicker foamy gasket goes towards the display that you're going to put behind it. Before tightening the nuts that hold it in, you need to make sure that the screen is properly lined up. On the framing of the screen, you'll see a little band of white, and just make sure that that's evenly spaced on both sides and on the bottom. Once in the correct position, tighten down all the lock nuts. You want to be careful not to over tighten. You just want the screen to be firmly in place and snug. Before placing the display in position, The touchscreen needs to be thoroughly cleaned because once the display is on there, it may show fingerprints. You can then grab the display and position the display behind the touchscreen. While still holding the display in place, feed the ribbon cables through the backing plate. Attach the wires to the inverter. The black, white, and red wires at the top, and the yellow wires directly below it. With the retaining nuts still loose but in place, then insert all the Phillips head screws. Once the screws are in place, then go back and tighten all the retaining nuts that are holding the screen. From the front of the unit, make sure the screen is properly aligned by looking through the touchscreen. Tighten the bottom left and the top right Phillips head screws, and then verify that the screen is properly lined up. If it needs to be readjusted, just loosen those screws and do the alignment again. Once everything's fastened, grab the LVDS cable and resecure the retaining clip. Next, resecure the ground strap. And insert the cable into the connector at the top of the board. The ribbon cables then need to be put into the bottom of the board by sliding the cable into the connector and tightening the retaining clip. Once the ribbon cables are attached, you need to put a little protective tape over them and wrap it around the LVDS card. Next, we need to reattach the cables to the touchscreen controller card. Remember that the top ribbon cable has a locking tab.